The Supreme Court of Ohio ruled that two Columbus police officers fired on by an armed robbery suspect are crime victims under the Marsy's Law provision in the Ohio Constitution, and their identities can be redacted from public records. A court majority rejected a Columbus Dispatch request for unredacted footage from the dashboard and body cameras of the officers who were targeted by a criminal offender during a shootout in the middle of Interstate 70 near Columbus in July 2023. The dispatch sought a writ of mandamus from the Supreme Court to direct the city to provide all footage, arguing that police officers do not meet the definition of crime victims when they are injured in the line of duty. Writing for the court majority, Justice R. Patrick DeWine explained that Marsy's Law provides a definition of a victim, which includes any person against whom a criminal offense is committed or who is directly harmed by a criminal offense.
Well, there's a common understanding of victim, and isn't generally someone who gets shot who is, quote, a victim of crime? Isn't that what people understand a victim to be?
I think a victim can certainly be someone who is shot at. I think there's a legitimate question about, I think that my common understanding of victim is not someone who arrives on the scene to effect a result. Rather, a victim is, the person walking down the street who gets mugged, the person driving a car who gets hit by a drunk driver.
Justice DeWine wrote, applying the plain text of the amendment, we have no difficulty concluding that an ordinary understanding of Marsy's Law's definition of a victim encompasses the officers in this case. In an opinion concurring in part and dissenting in part, Justice Patrick F. Fisher stated that identifying information about the first two officers on the scene could be redacted from the records provided to the dispatch. He noted 6 other officers joined the incident, and the city has not revealed their identities. He would make additional recordings from the incident available to the newspaper because the dispatch requested all records from the incident.
What do you say in response to his argument that there's a difference between the police officer who was shot and those that were not hit?
So what I hear him saying when he makes that distinction would be that he thinks only certain crimes would qualify for victimizing a person. Obviously, the main problem with that is going to be that it doesn't track with the text of the law at all. When you look at the text of the law, it says a person against whom a criminal offense or delinquent act has been committed. So there's no textual reason that we would divide up and have certain crimes go certain ways. So my understanding is that there were at least eight officers involved in the main part of the incident here, right, and that there were 2 who were victimized, one who was actually hit, and the other who was a victim of either an attempted murder or
shot at.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Yes. And so both of those officers are victimized under Marsy's Law. My understanding is that no one else was victimized.
In a separate opinion, concurring in part and dissenting in part, Justice Jennifer Bruner stated that the majority of the court was unconstitutionally applying Marsy's Law in this case. She explained that while police officers may be victims under the state's victim privacy law, officers who are on duty in public do not have an expectation of privacy, and the public's constitutional right to have access to government records outweighs the officers' rights to keep their identities concealed.
If there is some ambiguity between what's in the Constitution that would protect the public's right to access their own records, shouldn't we at least look at that issue?
So if you thought that the provisions that my friend on the other side cited in the Constitution created an implied right to, information gathering, then you would need to address the constitutional issue head on. As we describe in our brief, there's not really any substantive argument for an implied right to information gathering.
The court concluded that because the offender committed a criminal act when he shot at the police officers, they were victims under Marsy's Law. And because the General Assembly adopted the constitutional definition when it passed the victim privacy law, Columbus police had the right to redact the body cam and dash cam footage.